I said we're going to talk about vegetarianism, and that's what we're about to do now. I'm very proud of the fact that I run marathons. I've run 20 or so in the last 20 years. But our next guest here kind of makes me feel like a couch potato. His name is Scott Jurek. He is personally testament to the power of plant-based proteins, which is what he runs on and runs on and runs on and runs on. Scott is one of the world's leading ultra runners. He's won about all of the world's most competitive ultra races. Ultra races, as you may know, are races that go beyond the marathon. He's won the 153-mile Spartathlon, the 135-mile Badwater ultramarathon. He won the Western States 100-mile run 7 times in a row. And in 2010, he set a new U.S. all-surface record in the 24-hour run. So this is how much can you run in 24 hours around a track. Scott did 165 miles in 24 hours. That's 6.5 marathons. And I love this. For doing that, he was named USA Today's Athlete of the Week. You don't think they could have given him a month for running 165 miles in 24 hours? Please welcome Scott Jurek. Good to see you.
Yeah, excellent to be here.
So Scott, what do you think when you hear people say, you got to eat meat and fish to be healthy?
Well, I used to think that. I used to be a hunting fishing boy from northern Minnesota. So the fact that I am, not only doing this on a plant-based diet, but running ultramarathons. I mean, where I come from, people think I'm just nuts for...
Well, you are nuts. We know that.
A little bit, maybe.
So you don't need meat. You don't need fish. You're a vegan as well as a vegetarian. How has that affected your performance as best as you can tell?
Well, the biggest issue, I mean, we've been talking about sustainability. I think it's more over, sorry for the pun, but over the long run. Really, I became a vegetarian initially because I was concerned about long-term health issues. I had a mother who had multiple sclerosis, and I worked in hospitals as a physical therapist, seeing my patients, deteriorate and seeing what they ate for meals. And I was one of those college-age students who just ate a lot of junk food, fast food. And so I really thought, I got to think about it long-term, because athletes, for the most part, we can get away with a lot, basically, in our 20s or even early 30s. So I was looking at, down the road, I want to limit the risks as far as chronic disease. I wanted to be healthy and running and really just be able to enjoy my life, not just have my glory years of a top-level athlete and then kind of just fade away.
So it's obviously a very, very small sample size, but are you persuaded that switching from first a meat to a vegetarian and then to a vegan diet has improved your performance?
It's a good question. At the end of the day, I try to answer that because, I came from the other side, so to speak. My family still, can't believe that I'm vegan. I go and hang out with my uncles, and they're telling me I need to, eat some meat to be strong. But I use it as, as an experiment, and I think it is a testament to, the human body is very resilient. We're the most adaptable species on the planet. And we're obviously talking about that a lot over the course of 2 days. And at the end of the day, you can do that on an omnivorous diet, or you can do that on a fully vegan diet. And there's probably not one correct answer. It's more of like, what do we have available to us? And we know the research is there as far as long-term health. And I think I heard this quote once when I was deciding on going on this route and trying to figure out what's the healthiest way. And you can eat garbage and you can sustain life to a certain degree, but you can't sustain health. And I think that's a really key thing, and it's stuck with me for 20 years now in terms of just really looking at things kind of long term and looking at what's sustaining life and what's sustaining health.
And do you think the benefits from a health point of view, and then I want to touch on the environmental issue, are because of what you're not eating, because of chemicals and antibiotics in meat products, or do you think it's because you're taking in a great variety of fruits and vegetables with micronutrients, some of which we really don't even understand the effect on our health? You're a layman, not a doctor, but what's your thinking on it?
On a day-to-day basis, when I'm training and trying to do, these crazy 20, 30-mile training runs, or, when I try to do something like run 165 miles, by putting more antioxidants, by putting more, vitamins and minerals and getting basically high-octane fuel versus just regular unleaded, I think it really equates to, better recovery from workouts. I bounce back quicker. I mean, we all know when we eat crap and garbage, we don't feel that great. Right. And even simple things. So if you put better fuel in the tank, you're going to get a better yield. And really eliminating some of that garbage, I think, again, it's really long-term. On a day-to-day basis, I line up at a starting line with a lot of people who probably, I had buddies who would eat, nutty bars and things like that and swear by them, and, you can get away with that for a while, but, long-term, what's the cost of it?
Now, you've done some work with the Nature Conservancy. How persuaded are you that more of a plant-based diet is better for the planet?
Well, I don't know. I think Marc is out there somewhere.
He's here somewhere.
So I can give him a hard time, but I think it is a big issue. And sure, I come from the side of being a plant-based eater, and a lot of people say, okay, Scott, you got to carry the torch for us vegans. But I'm also sympathetic. I think eating less animal protein is really the direction we're going to have to go. I know there's a lot of scientific findings that we can maybe potentially produce that animal protein, but I mean, you just have to look at the statistics. You have to look at the statistics too in terms of health and what it's costing this country and all the major developing countries around the world in terms of health costs. And I like to look at nature and look at functioning ecosystems. I mean, if you're in the north, obviously you're going to eat a lot of animal protein, but there's places around this world where we can definitely eat lower on the food chain, and the costs, I think, to the environment are huge in terms of being lower on that food chain.
I mean the benefits.
The benefits, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As well as the costs of eating too much higher up on the food chain.
Great. So we're going to have a chance to continue this, as I said, tomorrow afternoon. And you're all invited. You don't have to have signed up in advance to join Scott and me for an early morning run tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Scott will be leading the way. I will be bringing up the rear. I'm expecting to see Marc there because last time Scott and I ran a race, he was supposed to show up and he didn't show. So, Marc.
And I didn't set the 6 a.m., so don't blame it on me.
Yeah, that was us. We'll start at the gazebo, which is right at sort of the high point of the hotel overlooking the ocean. It's not going to be a marathon. It's going to be no more than about 3 or 4 miles. Water, towels will be permitted, and you'll all have a chance to talk with Scott then. We also have copies of Scott's book, which I absolutely loved and would highly recommend. It's called Eat and Run. Those will be available during the break. And now we are going to take a brief break, and we'll be back here at 4:25 p.m. for a one-on-one with the CEO of Sam's Club, Roz Brewer. So please join me in thanking Scott Jurek.
Thanks.